everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel. Today I have a layout that I made for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For. And for this layout, I'm using a sketch from Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches, Series 9 and Day 15. And this sketch was created by She's Crafty. For this layout, I'm using a wood grain background because of the wood grain paper that's in the sketch. I got the background paper from a pad from Recollections called Whiskey Barrel. They had several really nice wood grain backgrounds, and I thought that this was a good choice. And then I decided to use the Bo Bunny Altitude collection. I've been using it a lot lately for some winter-themed layouts, and I really love it. So I thought that I would try using it again on this layout. I'm using a 4x4-inch photo. I matted it on some plain white cardstock, and then I matted it on some light blue paper and then dark blue paper. I use an off-white pattern paper to make the strip going down the page, and then I use a Martha Stewart punch and I punched out a scalloped border. The pattern paper was dark blue on one side and light blue on the other side, and I wasn't sure which color to use, so I was able to flip those borders over until I finally decided on using the dark blue paper. I cut some very thin strips of the striped white and turquoise paper to go on either side of the vertical strip of paper on the layout. I also noticed that in the sketch there was a banner in the upper left-hand corner, and one of the pattern papers that I had also had a banner, so I fussy cut it out. It says, "A truly perfect day." And then I matted that banner on some of the darker blue pattern paper so that just like the large strip of paper on the right, it would be bordered with some dark blue. The edges of the dark blue paper looked very white to me where I had cut them, so I decided to just put a little bit of inking on those edges. I'm using some Distress Oxide in Chip Sapphire. So now I have all of the elements cut out and I'm going to assemble them. So I put a little bit of adhesive on the edge of the strip of paper, and then I attach down the scallop to one side and then to the other side. And I'm very careful about how I place the strip of paper on it. I wanted to make sure I had it correctly lined up and even. Now I'm going to attach those thin strips of turquoise and white striped paper. First, I'm using a little bit of the Chip Sapphire to ink the edges of them. Those strips of paper are shorter than 12 inches, so I just figured out where I wanted the photo, and then I cut them and used the piece that I cut for below the photo, and that way it looks like the strip goes all the way down. I don't know if you caught it, but when I was cutting out a piece of solid white cardstock to put behind the photo, my big strip of paper was attached to that white piece of paper, and I ended up putting a big slice in it with my cutter because I didn't see it when I cut the white paper. But luckily it turned out that the place where the slice is will be covered up by the photo anyway. Thank goodness. So I attach that piece of white cardstock behind the photo, and now I'm going to pop it up on a little bit of foam. And I know that many people are familiar with this. This is kids craft foam. It's foam that has adhesive on one side, and in my opinion, it's perfect for popping things up on layouts because it adds a little bit of dimension, but not a whole lot. I really like these strips of turquoise and white striped paper. I feel like the pattern is very tiny, so I think that that is a nice addition to this layout where the patterns are very large. And I like the way it looks next to that navy blue strip that I punched. This photo is of my younger daughter, Julia. She was in the city with some of her friends. They were ice skating, I believe, in Central Park. I wasn't there, but the mom that took them took some awesome pictures and was nice enough to share them with me. And these pictures are from quite a while ago now. These were taken in 2015. And I still have plenty of photos to scrapbook in this album. And I'm very happy to be working on this album and getting these older pictures scrapbooked. I've been working on this album of Julia's for quite a while now, but it takes a long time, I think, to finish an album. And what I've been doing is I've been taking my photos and then the sketches from Christy's Beautiful Life, and I've been matching them up and then each week when it's time for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For video, I pull out one of the photos and one of the sketches, and that's been really helpful for me for getting this album done and also for planning out a Punched Out Thursday to Die For. Now, I have that vertical strip attached down to the layout. I feel like it takes a lot of careful work to make sure that all of those pieces are assembled and everything is straight. And then I attached down the photo. I added a little bit of extra adhesive on the top to those border strips. Then I noticed that that white strip of paper was a little bit shorter than the wood grain paper, so off camera I trimmed the layout down a little bit. I think I cut it off of the bottom. Now I'm adding some thick white cardstock to the back of the banner. I want to pop it up on some foam, and I always like to reinforce pattern papers with a thicker paper before popping them up because I don't want them to sag or kind of look dented when I put them in the album. Whenever I'm reinforcing something like this, I use scraps of 120-pound cardstock. I use that same paper for my mixed media pages, and I just find that it comes in really handy. I have that banner attached at the upper left-hand corner, and now I want to add some photo corners to my layout, one of my favorite additions. I'm using my EK Success scalloped photo corner punch, and then I cut out the photo corners so that the corner on all of them would be dark blue, and then the rest of it would be turquoise. So I inked the edges once again with a chipped sapphire, and then I used some adhesive and I attached all those photo corners down to the photo. Since this is a winter layout, I thought that I would add some snowflakes to it. I'm using a number of Martha Stewart punches. I have a large snowflake punch, and then I have 3 different small snowflake punches. I used some white glimmer paper that I had in my stash. It wasn't super glimmery, but there was a little bit of sparkle to it. And I punched out a whole bunch of the snowflakes in all different sizes. Now for these smaller ones, I'm layering some Jolee stickers on top of them. For the larger ones, I'm layering some of the medium-size snowflakes on top of each of the large ones. First, I added a little bit of white fun foam to the centers of each of these 3 large snowflakes, and that will make these a little bit more dimensional. Then I added a little touch of gel glue, and I placed one of the smaller snowflakes on top of the large snowflakes. I decided to use one of each of those 3 different designs that I had. Then I switched my adhesive to glossy accents, but I accidentally squeezed a little bit too hard on the bottle and a little bit too much of the glue came out. So I tried to share that glue with the other snowflakes using the nozzle on the glue bottle. And then when I had a little bit of glue on each of the snowflakes, I used an acrylic Recollections snowflake that I had in my stash. And I liked the way this added a little bit more dimension to these snowflakes. I added a very, very tiny jewel to the center of each of the large snowflakes. Later on, I decided that the jewel was just too little and it didn't look like it was the right scale for snowflakes that were so big, so I do end up switching those out. I started spreading the snowflakes around the page, and then I decided to add some of these Paper Studio iridescent dots to the photo corners, and then to take that little teeny tiny rhinestone out of these very large snowflakes, well, not very large, these larger snowflakes, and add those to the center instead. And I liked the size of those jewels better than that really, really tiny rhinestone. And then I didn't include the footage because the footage looked a little blurry to me, but I added some rhinestones, those very tiny rhinestones, all along each of the navy blue border strips. Now I'm adding my title, Ice Ice Baby, like the song by Vanilla Ice that was popular so many years ago. I Googled snow scrapbook layouts and this came up, and I read it to my daughter and we immediately started laughing because just recently I was showing her a whole bunch of music videos that used to be on MTV from my time, and we were laughing. It's funny to look back on some of those videos, but Ice Ice Baby was one of those videos, so I thought that was a perfect title for this layout. And I Google constantly to get ideas for titles for layouts. I want the title to be meaningful. I want it to go with the layout, but sometimes I don't have lots of ideas. I don't think that titles are probably my favorite thing about scrapbooking, so I definitely use the help of the internet to get a title to go with my layout. And now I'm attaching all the embellishments down to the page. In some cases, I'm using wet glue, and then for most of the snowflakes, I use some ATG adhesive. I like that because it's repositionable, and if I want to change my mind later on, I can switch things around, usually with the ATG. Now I'm adding some white splatters to the layout. I'm adding some watered down white acrylic paint, and I'm splattering it all around the background. My daughter Danielle often helps me with my layouts. I'll ask her advice on things, what color she thinks I should use on something, and you might have just seen her finger. She was helping me decide where to put the splatters. I do find getting an opinion from my daughters or my husband very helpful. Sometimes they can see something that I don't see right away, so I always like to have my scrapbooking consultants handy. I used a Martha Stewart bow punch, and I used the pattern papers that I use on the rest of the layout, and now I'm creating a little bow. The punch punches out 3 separate pieces. I'm assembling them, and then I attach this little bow underneath the photo. I just wanted to add a little element, and I thought that that bow would look nice under the photo. And then I had some snowflake stickers. There aren't too many of them, but I thought that this might be a nice little element to add with the other snowflakes that are already on the layout. So I am deciding where to put the stickers, and these stickers are perfect because I was able to stick them down and decide if I liked where I put them, and then when I didn't like where I put them, I was able to fairly easily pull them up, and they didn't ruin the paper, so I was able to move them around a bit. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to spread the snowflakes out or if I wanted to keep them in clusters, and I ended up doing a little of each. You could see that there are pretty much 3 main clusters of snowflakes, but I did add a couple of random snowflakes here and there around the layout as well. And there was one big snowflake sticker left, so I decided to put that on top of the title, and I just had to lift up the C and then the I a little bit to get that sticker behind the word ice. One of the tiny snowflakes that was a button that came loose from the background, and I was thinking that that would be a nice little embellishment for the bow, so I added that to that tiny bow, and I liked that right there. I used those very tiny rhinestone jewels to decorate the snowflake stickers that I had just put down. And then I also added some more rhinestones to the bottom of those 2 border strips. I added a very tiny jewel to the center of that big snowflake sticker, but then I decided that it was too small, just like they were too small for the large snowflakes, and I added one of the iridescent jewels to that snowflake. And then after looking at the layout for a while, I decided I needed a couple more snowflakes. I layered up some punched out snowflakes, added them to the layout, and that completes the layout. And here are the close-ups. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time to view my video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please take a look in the description box. You'll find links to the channels of all the other ladies who take part in A Punched Out Thursday to Die For, and I hope you'll check out their videos as well. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.